Um, Technically, we can't even call the meeting to order without a quorum.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Since we're all on here though, I'll take the opportunity to update you guys a bit. We still
here's
need
Bob.
two more people. Yeah, we still need two more people. Sorry, one more person for a quorum. We need
Bob.
5.
How you doing, Bob?
Muted, Bob.
Oh, maybe I can unmute you. There you go.
God, I see that.
Yeah, we're looking for one more person. Let me text Steven. See if he forgets.
Were you working that flock of seagulls?
Yeah, I got to mix them. Were you there?
We drove by like at the, we figured the last song was going to be, Iran. So we were going to come in for the last song, but we didn't feel like getting out of the car.
Not only did you not want to go to the whole show, but
I just wanted to
couldn't
catch
even
one
be
song.
bothered to get on.
I'm like trying to think, like, what other songs do they sing? Was it
Space Age Love Song, man? That's a great song.
I'll tell you what. I'll send you the video I took.
It's great. They're great. I love them.
Like
I
a
love all
song
this
about
stuff.
Iran. That's funny.
And actually, in the same era, the new Depeche Mode album is real good.
Nice. Okay.
If you haven't listened to it, it's worth a
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah, we were tired. Not a good excuse, but
Hey, Steve.
I didn't want to bother.
Hey, are you able
Mark.
to
I didn't
join
feel
the
like buying a
discussion today?
ticket for one, the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I hear that.
They probably would have,
Yeah, we need one more person to have a quorum. So if you could show up, that'd be
I
awesome.
think we need 2, Bob. I mean, Mark.
Awesome, thank you. Steven's driving. He's gonna zoom in a minute.
Don't we need 2?
We need. Well, I think Sabrina. We need one more person, right, to be able to start.
Yeah, we need 5 people.
Oh, 5.
Also, isn't Nori one? You might want to reach out to her.
Yeah,
She's
where's
usually a few
Nori?
more minutes.
Yeah, she should.
Also, Mark, the name of that place is the Museum of Pop Culture. They've changed the name. It was the Experience Music
Oh, the
Project.
Museum of Pop Culture. That's cool.
And then
In Seattle,
Sabrina, you were
right?
gonna, yeah.
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 And then Sabrina, you were gonna give us some updates.
I won't until we have a quorum if we're gonna have the meeting. If we don't have a quorum, then I'll give you an update anyways, but if we're gonna open it up for the record, I'd rather wait and do it then. Nori's here.
Oh, good.
She's just in the attendee list, so she should be exiting and then joining.
Cool.
There we go.
Good deal.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I don't know what happened because it updated it from Zoom 5.0, and then when I logged in, all I saw was Mark, Brian, and Bob, and nobody else.
Hmm. Well, I had trouble. My computer was sluggish to get it started too, actually. So maybe it wasn't me. Cool. Steven will be here in a moment.
We can get started though, Mark, since we have the quorum.
Okay, cool. Good deal. Okay, you wanna hit record and we'll go?
Yeah, we're already recording. We're good.
Okay, cool. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order. This is the Anoak Arts Commission meeting for March 7th, 2023. And I'm going to call a roll call vote, starting with myself, Mark Allen, Chairman, and Bob Abriola, please.
Bob Abriola, Vice Chair here and present.
Thank you so much. Brian Casper,
Brian Casper, voting member here.
Nori Gruden,
Nori Gruden, treasurer here.
thank you, Nori, and Melissa Matuska.
Melissa Matuska, voting member here.
Okay, cool. Stephen Russ will be joining in a few minutes and hopefully, but we can get started. On the agenda, the first order of business is voting on the record of the last meeting, which was 2 months ago from January. I had a chance to read it. I didn't have any exceptions to it. Did anybody else have any issues or comments?
It was fine, Mark. I went through it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve as noted?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, excellent. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second to approve Brian Casper.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to vote aye on that, Mark Allen, and turn it over to Bob
I vote aye.
and Brian.
I vote aye.
Thank you so much. Nori,
I,
thank you. Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. So the ayes carry and the motion is approved. Okay, moving on to new business. We're going,
Mark, this is mine. So we were contemplating a student art project at the behest of Heidi Alterman. She had brought up that she wanted to do something in City Hall. We had talked about the People's Gallery and expanding it to include some student artwork since we have more space to do that. And as we were sitting in the community room of City Hall, there's all that glass casing. There's probably like 100 pieces of glass, I would say, that go along the walls in those cases that are there to display, you know, whatever we want to display type of thing. They've been empty for as long as I can remember. And we had the idea of doing a mini canvas show. So we would get funding to get those, like, you know, 4x6 or something like that, those small canvases, and display them throughout the community room and kind of do a showing for that. So we're just starting to talk about that now. I just wanted to flag it for you all. We have funding in my budget to do something like this, and the school was willing to kick in funding as well. So it's, you know, just a project that we'll probably be involved in at some point in time. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on that.
This is Melissa. I have a couple of questions with it. One, I remember when the community room was remodeled, we actually went to City Hall, and I don't know if this is right when you started or if it was before your time, but we actually asked if we could put items in there because we were wanting to put the dragon in there at that time.
Yep.
And we were voted that they told us we couldn't. So I just wanted to let you know.
No,
But
they
that-
told us we could put the dragon boat in there, but we decided to put it in the hallway instead so people could actually see it. But they have no problem, building management has no problem with us putting things in those cases now. That may have
Awesome.
changed. I'm not sure.
I'm glad that's changed. The other thing is, how different will this be with the annual art competition that they did? That was part of the mayor's gallery.
We can still choose to do that or do something different. This was just a separate initiative that they wanted to do that involved the schools. So it wouldn't duplicate anything or replace anything. If they still wanted to do that exercise, or we wanted to do another exercise with the students, we could do that.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we weren't planning on really like having any sort of competition with it or anything like that. We were just really, you know, displaying something there for the most part.
so when you said the mini canvas, can you clarify what that means? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can pull one up. It's like a very miniature canvas and easel, and they fit right in the glass squares.
I see.
So it'd be,
If I can just interrupt you, I just wanted, the chair wants to recognize Stephen Russ, who's joined the meeting. Welcome, Stephen.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Hello, sorry I'm late.
so I can share my screen really quickly. So it would be something like this. So the students would be able to get the small canvases, and then they would decorate them. And then they would fit almost perfectly in like the small squares of the windows inside the case.
They have those at Jerry's Artorama. I think you can get them in packs of 5.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
cool. they're like 4x4s. They have all different ones. Yeah, those are nice. Those are
Yeah,
fun.
and then I think it would be, low management on, the students' end and the school's end too, because it's not like a ton to ship and carry around and stuff like that. So I think it would work well.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
And the budget.
Again,
for that-
very preliminary, but we'll probably be involved in some regard at some point. So I wanted to bring it up.
And the funding for that's coming from your budget and potentially
The
Board of Ed.
schools.
So,
Yeah.
so we can help out, but we don't have to vote on to approve it.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, good deal. Okay, if that's good, we can turn it over to Nori for a treasury update.
Well, our budget that doesn't involve MLK or redevelopment. With the money that we spend, it's what we have left is $11,452. And that is expenditures for secretarial stuff, updating on our social media accounts, paying for that, which would be professional services and other things.
Yeah, there's not much room for us to add there, Nori. It's just basically the operating stuff for us, but we do have money in our advertising budget. We have money to put on, print gallery stuff for the mayor's gallery. If we want to do an art speak event, we have money for that. We just need to really start spending it down because we don't have many months left to do that. It expires as of June 30th. So,
Yeah.
we have a couple months where we're able to spend the money, but we need to really, get on it.
Okay,
We, if everyone decides, use some of that funding to redo some of the traffic graphics that are in dire need of being redone.
The traffic boxes.
Yes. I'm thinking of the ones in like South Norwalk that need to just of the wear and tear that need to be painted over, or have the artist who originally did it come back and paint it if it's within their bandwidth to do it. Or you take on some others, if we need to spend this money down. This is just a thought.
I'd like to make a motion if that's possible, because I agree completely.
Sabrina, is there any,
We wouldn't need to vote on that because that's just, low cost out of our operating budget. So we don't need to vote on it. If that's something that we want to do, we can just let David Shockley know we have funding to support the program.
Yeah, and I was thinking more, or like, after we do art speak and stuff like that, if we have like floating around, a couple $1,000s to put it towards doing a traffic graphic box, because didn't you say use it or lose it?
Yep.
Yeah, is this earmarked that it has to be used for these things listed here, or is it just kind of whatever?
It has to be listed for these things here,
Okay.
but like other professional services is pretty flexible. Like we could use that for traffic graphic if we wanted. Same thing with operating supplies, things like that, especially if it's related to artwork, because, you could flip it to say, okay, we're paying for materials. So that could come out of operating supplies instead of coming out of, whatever else.
Well, because
other-
I'm thinking two things that I'm thinking are, one is, we are continually talking about, as we move through some of these public projects, adding lighting into the budget. And then the other
Yeah.
thing, it's kind of a small expense, but we basically started our call for entries account last year, this time, and it's due to expire. I just got an email about it saying, do you want to, keep your more or less your membership open? It costs us $250 up front, I think. And in order to keep it open, and I think it allows you 2 calls a year or something like that, it's $150. So we might as
Yeah.
well just use that money for
that's-
that and
that's
keep
what
it
I thought.
going. Especially if we plan on using that continually.
Yeah, we should definitely continue to keep that
Okay.
updated.
I'll drop
So,
you an email about
if
that.
you want to do that and submit an invoice, if it's on your
Okay.
card, or if you want to give me the login, I can just put my city card in.
Okay, cool.
Either, whatever way is easiest for you.
Okay,
and,
Um,
and that amount we don't need to vote on.
Nope.
So
okay.
I wanted to make two comments. I think the idea of refreshing the box is a good idea. I don't want to say but. There's going to be a lot of, like, David Shockley kind of handles the paperwork end of it, but there would need to be someone to coordinate all that. And I'm not volunteering. I'm just saying, like, to coordinate, like, find the artist,
Hired.
hire the artist, all that, right? Because David's going to be like, okay, here's the form, fill out the paperwork if you want
Yeah.
to do the box. That's about as far as he goes. And he's great to work with, but he's not going to coordinate all the refreshing of the boxes. Like, we would have
Right.
to.
We
find the
need
artist,
artists.
do all
That's
that.
really what it comes down to, is we need artists.
Well, we need artists, but then artists need to fill paper, it's like, you got to handhold some of this stuff. We've
Yeah.
been doing boxes at SPAG, so I know, and I'm involved, like, it's just work into, which, by the way, Mark, we still need that approval for that SPAG box. don't
No,
know.
I have it here. I thought you were gonna pick it up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. All right. So in any event, there's more to it, like, to kind of manage and organize it. So that's part of it. The other comment on where money can go, in the last meeting, I had talked about that cataloging of our art project. That could we put that on for new business? I don't know if it made it on new business for this meeting. But
Cataloging is a capital request that we have for an inventory.
okay.
The cost is about $170,000 to be able to catalog everything, digitize it, and value each piece that the city owns.
Okay.
So that's as a request right now. It doesn't really look like it's going to go forward this year, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to at this point. It still might, but it'll happen hopefully the next year if it doesn't happen this year. So the request is in there and it's pretty comprehensive and it's covering a lot of stuff, not just our art, but our institutions and statues and everything that we own, essentially. It's a huge
Okay.
lift, but.
And I think
Okay.
also tied in with that too is the thing, I feel like every 3 or 4 months we talk about getting or updating or creating some sort of website for the Arts Commission. I mean, that's another idea to toss at this sort
Yeah.
of discretionary budget stuff.
I agree with you. But although I think one of the things we're gonna be talking about later on in this meeting is the role that the Visit Norwalk site is taking to sort of increase cultural tourism around the arts and other things. So that site in itself is probably be the site where we can develop, to do exactly what you're talking about. It won't be necessarily a website for the Arts Commission, in itself. I mean, this goes to do with social media as well. We've talked about the idea, does the Arts Commission need to have its own social media? Or do we support, or do we advise and inform on social media concerning the arts, under the city umbrella?
Right.
Maybe the Arts Commission doesn't need its own voice. We just need to make sure that the city represents the, public art in Norwalk, in the
Yeah,
right.
so we're leaning more towards that way. And the people who are on like the social media kind of communications committee would, instead of, sending things to Michelle that they would post, they would send it directly to Todd's group that would then do that. On the Visit Norwalk stuff and on the city social, if appropriate.
Yeah. It's an ongoing conversation, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But budget wise, that the money for that wouldn't be coming out of our immediate budget. That's a broader thing within the city budget for tourism, right? Is that? would you-
Correct. So it would just save us money essentially and be able to create some more flexibility for us
Hmm.
with the budget that we currently have.
Okay, so there's more to be said on that because there is definitely going to be a transition with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about it right now. We're doing that transition. Michelle's gonna stop working with us as of June 30th. And then as of July 1, Todd's group's gonna pick up kind of any arts related stuff and just share it across the city and Visit Norwalk socials.
Hmm.
So we have
So-
a date.
So with our budgeting, we don't have to allocate that much funding to do that job because the city's gonna then take over.
Correct. We would have to allocate $0. We're just gonna,
But then we can probably find something else to
Correct. So it frees up the other professional services money for next year.
Okay.
They're gonna be able to handle it and do everything we need them to do?
Yep. They do it for every single business in the city at this point. So
I don't want to get bogged down in the details on this, but generally speaking, what's the protocol for someone who wants to post something? You know, let's say I have an event I want to talk about on the city's socials. You just email it to the city and then they approve it or not.
yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
you
even
could
know.
just, I was just messaging Michelle directly and then she would post it.
right. No,
Yeah.
but I'm
It's either
saying
if
when
it's
the
for
city takes
city,
over, what's it going to look like? Is my
Yeah.
question.
if it's for citywide social, like the City of Norwalk page, that goes through Michelle. And then if it's Visit Norwalk or Norwalk for Business, either of those two is through Todd's group DKA, and we just email them directly and then they post it up.
But what does Todd work for the city?
He's contracted by us.
It's
Yep.
contracted. So then what's the approval process in terms of like, we don't
Todd
want them
checks with
posting.
Todd checks with me, but for the most part, he's,
Okay,
he can
okay.
do what he needs.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure no one's doing anything, insane, but I'm just.
Yeah,
just a
he
thought.
he makes sure the content is what it should be and all that fun stuff.
Noted.
Yeah. And then lastly, the capital accounts haven't changed. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the state update at this point in time and those projects going forward. Kind of later on down the line. So these haven't been touched essentially and won't be touched until we have approval from the state to start doing these mural projects.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
Okay,
And just, I was supposed to give you guys an update, just capital and operating update. We pretty much already did that. So the capital stuff, it's going through the process right now. We'll know finally, not at our next meeting, but the May meeting, we'll know what we're ending up getting for the operating budget and for our capital budget. So that's really just the update on that. But the detail of Michelle not being included in the budget anymore frees up a little bit of money. We didn't have all the funding. We're not getting all the operating funding that we got last year. They cut it slightly, not by a ton. But we'll be able to save some money on her not being on staff anymore.
and was there another Michelle? that
No.
You guys were talking about?
Oh, yes, that's Michelle Woods Matthews, who's our communications director.
Michelle Matthews, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, so that said, we've essentially covered the, communications committee update. The committee, I tried to draft Heidi Alterman into that committee. And she's interested, although still relatively unavailable. She said she's hoping after this month to be able to be more available. So I think she'd be great for that.
Yep.
But that said, Ava and Elizabeth and I tried to organize a communications committee meeting since the last time. And scheduling for everybody has been really, really hard. So we have not met, just to be honest. And but I think the main thing is that we are moving into that Visit Norwalk transition. So my question to you, Sabrina, is when does that officially happen?
July 1st.
Okay. And is there anything that we need to do to prepare for that?
No,
Okay.
we would just, when you would send things and share things with Michelle, we would just now share them to Todd.
Okay. Oh, cool. Maybe you could do an email introduction to
Yeah.
myself. and
Contact,
everyone.
link, all the links that we need to send to him.
It seems like then potentially when that happens, some of the role of maybe the communications committee or all of us really, I guess, is also being sort of, feet on the ground in terms of reporting things that are not reporting, it's, kind of. an
Oh,
interesting
you're
word,
right.
But, if someone's, when these murals go up, for instance, like we need to decide like who's the one who's
Yep.
going to be sort of documenting this and making sure that it's at least going on the Visit Norwalk Instagram and website or whatever. So just making sure that we're staying on top of some of those things too. Less about like, hey, here's the thing that's happening. Not like this is the thing that's happening or has happened, and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Just a note.
We're also,
hopefully we get-
we're also in the process of hiring a special events coordinator, so I think part of their role is also gonna cover a little bit of this as well.
See, I'm really excited about this overall because, informing others in Norwalk about it, about what's happening, of course, is part of our mission, but broadcasting the news of Norwalk as an arts friendly city on a state level is, to me, is what we're doing here, which is making it giving people another reason to visit Norwalk. Whether you're, a traveler from, whether you're going to move here or just choose to visit here. That's what it's about, communicating on a statewide level, a regional level.
Yeah, and I think,
Such a
sorry,
great place to be. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking too, just sort of us, as the Arts Commission and the Communications Committee, sort of maintaining some sort of schedule where even if there's not something happening right this very second, like we are undoubtedly going to have pictures of things that have happened. And just sort of, that's the, you have to keep it top of mind. So just, reposting, whether it be a music event or a poetry reading or whatever, that has already happened, and saying like, remember last year when, whatever, and just kind of trying to, I think staying on some kind of schedule would be helpful, because then we're always sort of like in some sort of top level of whatever people are seeing on, whether it be a website or Facebook or Instagram or something. Again, just a note.
Well, one thing I think we could do is, use our social media in the meantime to start to pave the way to, the whole thing is that there's so many entities in Norwalk, art entities that we don't necessarily communicate with on a daily basis, that have art events going on, and just corralling those people and, pulling them together is definitely something we can.
I mean, daily basis, not even an annual basis. We're not, certainly not doing, there's a lot of locations that have events every week that I find out about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, the amount of stuff that's happening. But, which is great.
Yeah.
Not
Good
complaining.
problem.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. So why don't we move into the infrastructure committee update, because there's a lot to talk about there. Brian or Sabrina, do you guys?
There's not much to talk about here, actually. So we approached the state at this point, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but December?
Yeah, it was right after we voted on MJ and Josh's, we pretty much got in touch with them.
Yeah, so we
And
reached
they
out to
sort of
them.
shoot us away a little bit,
Yeah.
saying they'd get back to us and then haven't. And then Sabrina's been like a boss on top of them. They finally got back to us.
Yes, so
Sabrina.
they finally got back to us last week and had told us that they have an application and guidelines crafted for all people and municipalities who want to do any sort of art installation on any of their property. That is now with their legal team, and their legal team has to vet it to make sure, it doesn't violate any crazy laws or, rights or anything like that we have as a municipality, but also the artist has, all of that fun stuff. So they're doing that now. They did not give me a date when they can expect us to have a response from them, but I've been emailing them every week, and I'm going to keep up the trend. So hopefully we can get a response from them. And once we have, that application in hand, as well as the guidelines that they have, I don't foresee our project specifically having any issues, especially since it's really installing paint. There's a lot of other municipalities that are looking to do more sculpture artwork that's like drilling into the walls and the concrete and things like that, which is a little bit more complicated than what we're trying to do. So I think we should be okay, and we're in a good place to progress forward.
And
with them
considering
once
we're
we
only
have-
replacing a piece of artwork that exists currently.
Well,
Yeah,
and even with MJ and Josh's, it's, it's not even that, we don't even have that piece of the puzzle. And and they're ready to go.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I
So
see.
we just have to wait on them still, which isn't the best situation, but at least we had a response from them last week, which is, more progress than we've had the last 3 months. So that's been good. And then a little bit of an update as well. So as you guys were aware, we did the other proposal for the West Avenue underpass over there.
Mhm.
We, at this point, have submitted the grant paperwork, which was due kind of the last week in February. That was submitted with the budget, with the selected artists, and with the proposal. They'll get back to us in March if we'll move on to the second phase, which is essentially a more solidified budget, which we pretty much already have what we would need for the second phase of the application. So we should be able to move through that quite quickly. And then they would approve us after that to receive the funds. But the better news is that our capital request for the project is going through at the full amount. So even if we don't get the grant, we'll be able to still do the work. We'll just be able to do additional projects with that funding if we do get the grant. So
yeah.
either way, it's going to get done. It's just, are we using grant money, or we're using capital funds, or are we using, the capital funds for other things plus this mural for the match and the mural and like other things that we could do with the money if we get the grant. So it's not going to happen, which is really great.
So if we do get the grant, we could potentially have a different project to put that into. And
Yep.
maybe the next one we'll choose a city-owned property.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's the benefit of the grant. So I put in the capital request that has the full amount of the project so that if we do not get the grant, we can still do the project. And that seems to be going forward just fine through the capital budget allocation process. So even if we don't get it, we should be in a solid place. And if we do get it, that'd be amazing because we'd be able to do, more stuff.
yeah. The only things we haven't met as an infrastructure committee, mostly because we've all just been burnt out on this stuff, I guess. But there have been a couple things that I've been kicking around in my head that haven't been officially, brought to the subcommittee, but I might as well mention them here. The first one, there's a group of artists that started something called the You Are Not Alone murals, based in New York City. It's a soon to be a nonprofit, basically raising mental health issue awareness, things like that. And they just paint the words "You Are Not Alone" in their signature colors. Anyway, they came up last year to chat with me about potentially doing some things up here, and I met with them recently. They're putting together a little proposal for us. But basically they're hoping to be able to do probably the end of summer, five murals around Norwalk. And it basically wouldn't, really cost the city anything. Of course, they'll take some extra help if we have it. But anyway, it's just a thing that's coming down the pipeline that's pretty interesting. They have a pretty good following. And they, have some well-known artists that work with them as well as they want to find some local people too. So that's just a random thing. I don't have much more info, but just know that is potentially coming down. In conjunction with our complaints of the DOT, I had brought up a while ago about kind of creating some sort of database of available walls. And it's something that I think I might just start a spreadsheet or something like that on Drive for everyone to just start. I see my parts of the city, the most. So I'm acutely aware of like West Norwalk and the Wall Street area. But, I don't see all of the little hidden gems. I drove by one in Sono and I was like, whoa, there's a wall.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking that potentially as the Arts Commission, everybody just kind of plugs in addresses as they find them. And then maybe we can start kind of getting after some of the building owners to at least start preliminarily getting that permission from some of these walls. So that way we don't run into some of these issues with being held up when you are just basically ready to go and waiting on the state. So
I like that idea.
just to start chipping away at it, we might as well. I mean, I know that, for instance, I rent from Pichelle. He's basically given me carte blanche on every single one of his buildings. And so that's an example. Like he didn't even realize that we talked about this before, but that the public art policy had changed. So I know there are likely other building owners out there, and if they don't have to think about it, and if it's sort of like the backside of a building, which I actually want to paint the backsides of all the buildings that face the train tracks. So when people pass through our town, they see it.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what's that place? But anyway, but we need to, start identifying some of these like opportunities and maybe, like I said, kind of getting after some of these building owners. Yeah, I don't know, just like I said, random things and thoughts that have been going through my head that I want to start just kind of working on.
I like that idea because, back when Susan Wallerstein was transitioning out of her being chairperson, one of the committees that she started was called the Collaboration Committee. And that just kind of worked itself into Communications Committee because we didn't have enough people to really have all these separate committees anyway. But that collaboration idea is like when you can function as an entity that introduces people.
Yeah.
Which I love email introductions. I love bringing people together.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in the middle of those deals. You know,
True.
we can advise and inform and introduce and great things can happen, and we are functioning in a very cool way there.
Yeah. I mean, we're basically already building a roster of, mostly nationally known artists through the open calls, process. I've been saving emails and contact information of all those people. And you're right, like that could just be an easy way to be like, I'm a building owner, I have a wall. Who do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that you are not alone. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
When I was just out in Modesto, California, I found a place called Peer Recovery, and they had a peerrecoveryartproject.org. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were basically bringing attention to trying to reduce the stigma of mental health issues and bringing people together through art. And they've become a really, really cool mural city there. They basically, I don't know if you guys know the movie American Graffiti?
Yeah.
Old movie. George Lucas wrote that about Modesto. So they've embraced this idea of Modesto graffiti, and they've taken muralism to some really cool levels. But what they do is they use this peer recovery art project to bring artists together to promote, to call attention to mental health issues and reduce the stigma for it. I thought that was really cool. So I love that idea. Now, if you want, are they have the funding for this, or they're looking to?
They're putting together some kind of proposal. I think they're going to kind of break it out into a few different options, because when they asked me about it, I said that I wasn't sure what sort of role the city would really want to have in this. But so they're going to put together a couple of different ideas. At the base level, I can go hit the pavement and find 5 walls for them, but it'd be good to have something a little bit broader, a little bit bigger, including the Arts Commission, even including the city, again, to showcase, what Sabrina brought up last time, which is that meaning city council members, seem to be interested in this. So this is sort of kind of an easy way for people to start to get behind some of this stuff. And also just thinking ahead too, to, these walls, and the walls of, like I said, these building owners or whatever, where we get the sort of permission that maybe some things just get kind of constantly rotated out. Maybe every couple of years, some of these walls just get refreshed for something new. When we have people who, I've met people who have said, I wish I had a wall just to paint something. I'm like, well, what about that one? So anyway, just thinking about all this, and I think that You're Not Alone, and like I said, getting something that has real meaning behind it too, to get people kind of excited about this and like the impact that art can have, and how art is a form of discourse and can spark conversations and discussions. So when they came to me, I was pretty pumped about it. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, on a related note, I think the idea of an inventory of potential art spaces, public art spaces for murals and whatever that are city owned, I think is a really good thing.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I thought of this the other day when I was driving up Fox Hill, because I always see that white wall by the Crystal Theater. That's right on the main street. I don't know, the Crystal Theater where the Ben Franklin School is. There's a white wall there that's just begging for a mural. And so that's actually a city-owned property. The city owns that, and did like 20 years ago, did a a lease to the Crystal Theater for $1 a year.
Yeah.
That lease, I think, has maybe 7 more years on it. Who knows what happens after that, but that wall is city-owned and I think is probably ripe for a mural there. So,
I mean, I think some of these really prominent spaces like that, that aren't a $200,000 sized wall,
mhm.
that, we always use the Wynwood Walls example, right? I mean, why not have a piece of city-owned property that has rotating public art that we change every 2 years? I don't know. And it's basically just like there for us to do and have basically like a gallery, like a public gallery.
Mark,
I don't know.
so, Brian, like the Circle Hotel in Fairfield, right?
Right.
They've been rotating out. You actually had a mural there. The artists aren't getting paid, but I think they pay for supplies there.
Yeah, they cover materials.
They
Yeah.
cover materials, right? And they have a boom and a lift there. But that's a nice wall. It's actually in a good visible location where the roundabout is there. And I love that idea of just having one or many dedicated walls where we can rotate art
Yep.
every year. I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
I like that idea of rotating art. I know there are a lot of mural sites that do that. People have this idea that a mural lifespan is like 20, it's 20 to 30 years if it's done right. Sure, we have like the Donovan's mural that they want to redo and we hope will get redone at some point. But murals can be, as long as the artist understands up front that it's going to be a 2-year commission or whatever the length.
Well, it's like the what is it, the Bowery Wall or whatever down on Houston Street in the city. That's one I think they change every I think it's every 6 months, but it's an internationally known wall. Everybody wants to paint that wall.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I
everybody
don't think
wants-
that's And so there's no reason that we can't have something or many things that are sort of similar like to this, and maybe, it's just recovering materials or something. And for some people that's enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I think like doing it like the Circle, where if it's a big and it's a good location, you're going to get artists that actually want to do it.
Yep. There's a giant advertisement.
We pay for supplies and it's a big ad for them.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Well, all this to say is, I need help identifying some of those places because I only know the city so well. And, a lot of you live in different parts and see these, like, I didn't even know about this wall, Mark. This is a great example. And especially if we can start to identify the ones that are city owned, that we don't need to bother going through a building when we're just mostly getting city council to say, cool, go for it. And the skate park, the new skate park. We need to, we've got to have a place for art there. There's just got to be. There's $1.5 million. They got money for it. Like, come on.
Right. Who owns the skate
Well,
park?
Well, the city, but it's
The city
they
owned.
just granted the contract to, I forget who. But it's a $1.5 million contract. There's no reason we can't have a pony wall. It can be a 4-foot high wall that, I mean, I know I've had the sort of like free public art space in my back of my brain for a while. Maybe this is a good spot for it. Anyway, side note.
Does the new construction that goes up, do we ever mention to the people who are building that stuff that we want to have some wall space? Because I know,
That's
like,
great. Yeah.
I don't ruin it for me, Sabrina, if you hear anything different, but Wegmans is tearing down MBI and
Right.
they're building new construction. Maybe they would be up for putting in a mural in the grocery store or on the outside, because that's a big, huge space if they're going to be making this ginormous store. Same thing. I don't like Costco. I mean, it's the way it's laid out and everything, but that again,
I know,
like you
faces that
said.
wall, that's the street. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
but you could have like a nice, beautiful mural there that, on that side, they probably own their property, but just to make it more appealing.
Well, some of this too is, when these things exist and when they become part of the visual language and the built environment here in Norwalk, building owners will start wanting to be part of that too. The more you have, the more it's like, well, we need to put a mural in too, because we can't let our neighbor get all the fun. So sometimes it takes some of that. But I agree with you, Nora. That's a great point that, we have developments, and there's the one by Waypoint that's going up, these, somehow allocating space. I know we have the thing that Milligan was trying to do where, you include public art, you get some sort of break or something, but things like that. I mean, I think those are great initiatives. And
That's a
really good
zoning
point,
thing.
Nora.
I mean, that's a zoning thing. That's part of theirs. zoning
Sure.
regs. It's not
But
just,
something to encourage that too, so we get something kind of behind us. I know, I don't want to go off the rails, we've been talking about it for 15 minutes, but I know there was the sort of storefront improvement program thing that was going on
that's
where
Sabrina's thing.
they were reimbursing. Well, I mean, what about an initiative like that where it's like this, I don't know, somehow, again, it's encouraging the people who own these properties to do something with, their big blank walls.
Art.
Yeah,
Sabrina,
even the
actually, that's-
Maritime Center, because they're tearing down the old IMAX theater, but they said they had built a new theater on the other side. I don't think anybody, well, I should have known that, but that whole building, you could do a beautiful mural of, aquatic life. I know you don't like too much stuff, Brian, but something that would be just beautiful on the side of the building.
Hmm.
And again, it's an eye, it's a draws your eye to it.
Yeah.
Sabrina, I have a question. This is related to what Brian was saying. Back when we were taking the murals out of the zoning regulations, they still have in there, when they were treating it as signage, quote unquote. Is there any sort of regulation in there that you're aware of that sort of precludes people from doing painted signs for a business? Because I've seen this in a lot of cities.
It doesn't preclude them from doing it, but if it is deemed a sign, they have to follow the sign regulations, which have size and color requirements and things like that.
Because I've seen actually, I've seen a lot of like painted signs in my travels that are really beautiful, like basically as beautiful as any mural. But if it's on the side of a business and, they treat it as a sign, I would love to see that happen more,
Right.
Um,
But I think it's just one of those things that it becomes part of the sort of aesthetics and look of a city. I have a friend who lives in Nashville, and he's constantly telling me if I just come down with my sign kit, that I'll have more business than I could handle in a week, because everybody wants painted signs, because it's just the way that everybody considers that city to look. That's like expected. If you didn't do a painted sign, if you didn't have a sign painter show up and paint your hours, it's like looked down upon almost. So I think it's this sort of similar where it's like it just needs to be, the more it's encouraged and the more people sort of come to expect it, the more it starts to happen. Yeah, I don't know, but I agree with you, Mark.
and
I'm-
there is actually a historical precedent for her painted signs in Norwalk. Actually, right? I actually saw it in a postcard. The building on Water Street and Commerce Street and Wall Street used to be a sign company, and they had a painted sign on the side of their business. This is early 1900s, granted, but it was beautiful actually, and I wouldn't have known it existed if it wasn't in a postcard. But it was very cool. There's something to be said for it historically.
Well, you can do these sorts of things. You just have to work with the city to implement different regulations, because Hilton Head has a requirement that they can't have signs taller than 4 feet. So it really just depends on what the city wants to do.
I know, I'm so sick of the flashing LED signs in our city.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, didn't mean for this to turn into a 30
No, it's
minute long
okay.
tirade
It's all
about
good stuff.
signs, but
It's all good stuff. Let's we're running out of time, so let's turn it over to let's have a update on the Arts and Cultural District, which really actually hasn't been formally introduced into any of our meetings, but this is, the Arts and Cultural District is a state recognized entity. They define as a cultural district as much what you would define as an arts district. And we've been proposing, I've been proposing, and a lot of others, that we've been working on this, proposing for the city of Norwalk to designate an arts and cultural district according to this state mandate. And this would really, what this would do is it would define Norwalk as an arts and cultural city on a state recognized level. Again, it kind of dovetails with the whole Visit Norwalk idea. Sabrina and I have been talking about this for, a couple of years now. And, we've all kind of gotten pushy for it to come through, and we have a lot of support now. But Sabrina, why don't you give us an update on that?
Sure. So at the current moment, we're updating the Arts Commission ordinance language to include what we need to meet the state regulations to have an arts and cultural district. So we essentially have to say that the members of the Arts and Cultural District Commission, or the Arts and Cultural Commission is what we're calling it, because the Arts and Cultural District Commission would only focus on the district itself. If we call it the Arts and Cultural Commission in general, we can focus on larger city efforts, but also focus fundraising efforts and things like that into the cultural district itself. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. We've presented to the ordinance committee at their last meeting in February, and then hopefully the next meeting in March we'll have a solidified draft to really review, and then the following meeting in April we would then pass that language and have a public hearing on it, and then we would be able to move forward with the state process with the Fairfield County Cultural Alliance to be able to get that passed through the state channels.
So basically, when the state of Connecticut began to recognize the cultural districts, at that time, this kind of shows you how long I've been pushing for it. At that time, the city of Ridgefield was the first to take this on. I was hoping that Norwalk could be number 2. At this point, we would be about number 6, I believe. But I think it's a really good thing for the city of Norwalk to have a designated cultural district, and we're going to call it the Arts and Cultural District. We, of course, full disclosure, I had wanted, Wall Street to be a part of that. We decided, I know we've been talking for a while about expanding beyond that. So because there's so many arts and cultural institutions that go starting around where 95 crosses West Avenue. You have Lockwood Matthews Mansion, you have Stepping Stones Museum, you have the Printmaking Museum, you have Norwalk Art Space. So that up to and including Wall Street and up towards East Avenue. That's basically what we're defining as that. Would you say that, Sabrina? Sorry.
Yep, and the South Norwalk geography as well.
Yeah, up
It's
around
the entirety of the urban core.
Right. So this is not going to preclude us any of the other what do you call that, the economic the opportunity zones and things like that, right? Like the other recognized entities.
No,
It doesn't preclude any of that.
no.
There's no like restrictions that come of that, right?
Nope.
Kind of like getting your house registered on the historic
No.
district, right? Then you can't do anything, like, there's
Nope.
no issue. Okay.
No, it's not like a TIF or anything like that kind of puts any sort of restrictions on it. It's really more of an opportunity to call attention to Norwalk as for its cultural assets. And
Yeah. Okay. So no approval process once that all happens. It's just, we can put a stake in the ground after that, and that's it.
Yep.
correct.
Okay.
I have a question about that area. What are they looking to do with the YMCA that's there? If that is,
By the
I
Norwalk-
want to paint it so badly.
I
It's-
want to do
it's-
that. I want to turn it into a botanical garden or something. I mean, at that
It's
point.
it's owned by the property. We don't know what's going on with it right now. They're selling it probably to
I
someone.
thought it was
Okay.
bought by Norwalk Hospital.
The hospital
Hospital.
owns it. And they do want to sell it. And I heard that basically it's just this asbestos hazard that nobody wants to touch.
Oh.
Which of course is just getting in the way of anything happening with it. Because yes, I've tried to paint it.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because if we do have this arts and culture designated area, would that restrict what that building could then become?
No, the Arts and Cultural District only allows us to gather funds for a specific geography and apply for grants for a specific geography to do events, murals, and art. That's it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yep.
Sabrina, you and I had talked once before about the idea of bringing together arts, cultural, and tourism. Was there any thought for that in terms of the Arts Commission?
Yeah, so that's what would put in this Arts and Cultural District stuff. It would accumulate all of that into one commission.
Right. So just so everybody's clear, part of the requirement to have a cultural district in the state of Connecticut is to have a commission within the city that oversees it. So we were talking about transitioning the Arts Commission to an Arts and Cultural Commission. Essentially, am I understanding correctly, Sabrina, that essentially the Arts Commission ends and the Arts and Cultural Commission forms? The mayor, says, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to form this new commission.
Correct.
And does the structure of the new commission change at any?
Yes, so there's gonna be less members. It's gonna be 6 members. And that's pretty much the only difference.
And why does the membership drop?
We're meeting the state requirements of how many people are in there.
Okay, so we want to go down to 6? Are
Yeah,
we
that's
not
the
allowed to
purview,
have more?
that's a purview of the mayor's office and the council at this point.
I see. Okay,
But that's it. I'll keep you guys updated after that next meeting, which should be, our next meeting in April. Sorry.
so then having only 6 members at that point, is there going to be other committees underneath that?
Probably not. It'd probably just be the sole group unless we have a larger event going on that we would need, volunteers and things like that, or have somebody do that. There'd probably not be subcommittees, no.
Hmm.
Are they paid positions then?
No.
There's a lot of work, right? Divided across 6 people.
Yeah, but we're gonna have staff at the city level now. We'll have my office as well as 2 employees for special events specifically.
Well, it's something to think about, Mark.
Yeah.
I was
All
kidding
right.
about paid positions.
Yeah. So any idea at this point when that transition would happen?
Not within the next 3 months.
Mhm.
So we have some time.
So essentially with potentially the new fiscal year, essentially.
Maybe we still have to wait for state approval as well. So it's not just a local thing.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or anybody from any comments?
So you have to get the state's approval to change it to art and culture. And then the common council and the mayor then have to approve it?
It's the opposite way.
Oh,
So
okay.
we would have to change our ordinance to have a body to manage the arts and cultural district. We would then have to submit that ordinance as well as the common council approval, as well as a letter from the mayor, as well as a map of the district and all of the institutions that would be included. And then that package goes to the state and then they would approve it. And then that's when we would finally have an arts and cultural district.
So we wouldn't have the arts and cultural district within the city until we change the art
Yes.
commission.
Correct.
Because just thinking outside the box, it would be good in a tourism aspect with publications and stuff if we did have that.
Yep.
Hmm. Okay,
That's it. I'll update you guys at the next meeting if we made any progress.
okay, very good. Okay, is there anything else before we take a motion for adjournment?
Yeah, Mark, I had one thing I wanted to add. I know we've been talking about the Art Speak. And one idea, I think Liz had asked about, like, would we ever be doing live meetings again?
Mhm.
And there's so many places within Norwalk to do meetings. Just throwing the idea out there of, could we host meetings at these various locations? So
No, it has to be city property.
what's that?
It has to be city property.
It has to be city property?
Yeah, that's what
I
Sabrina
don't
said
know.
last time.
I'll be honest with you. It's a little confusing because when I was even before I joined the Arts Commission, when I would only attend the meetings for a while, for at least a year, they had regular meetings at different places in Norwalk.
Yeah,
We
I
have
would-
to, it has to be city property now because we have to have the capability for hybrid.
Oh,
Oh,
because of the
okay.
because of the recording capability and
Yep, we have to have all that access and then we have to have our IT department available to be able to work on the systems in case something happens. It's a lot more complicated than just
and
having a meeting.
All right,
that-
so let's,
yeah,
all right,
that-
so hypothetically, on city property, wherever those might be, hosting some kind of an art event, music event, theater, a guest speaker, what have you, and weave that into, at the end of it, then we have our meeting, right? So we get people to attend an event of whatever we want at a location, I guess a city property. And then at the end of the meeting, or at the end of that event, maybe it's a 30-minute thing, then we have our meeting. Welcome to the Arts Commission meeting.
Mm.
Open to the public.
And I'm just thinking of all the different property that the city owns. Would it be better to, if you want to do that, do a trial run at the library because they have the conference room upstairs. They have good parking. Or would you do something like at Fodor Farms is city owned, but do they have the equipment and stuff
Yeah.
to do hybrid? You know what I mean, Sabrina?
well,
Because there's some
like
buildings that are,
an Art Speak event doesn't need, or like not every event needs to be on city-owned property, right?
no, but
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
do-
saying if we're gonna have a meeting there,
Yeah,
like what he's saying, to like,
Oh,
okay,
like
come
a
to the
meeting.
event. Yeah,
yeah, I was trying to make it easier, Mark. Like, we all have to meet for a meeting, right? Why not try to do various kind of art guests coming in, right? And we can advertise like, hey, the commission's having their meeting this month, and so is gonna, play an instrument. So and so is gonna read poetry. Artist is gonna give a demo as part of the event. We don't have to have it a part of a meeting. I'm just thinking an easy way to get an Art Speak off the ground. It wouldn't be hard to find people to come and be like the guest that month. And we can advertise for it. Give us a little more recognition, right? Even if 10 people show up, that's 10 more than we get today. And
Mm.
we do an event that gives some recognition to what we're doing, and maybe we get more people involved, and then they get some enthusiasm towards the commission and what we're trying to do for the city.
yeah, and are there better, Sabrina, are there better venues that would be more adapt to doing a meeting with hybrid opposed to something else? Like, is Mill Hill equipped to do hybrid? Opposed to, you know what I mean, like opposed to.
Yeah, they're not.
Chris-
It's
yeah, the
really,
Chris- So we would have to have a list of who we could do the
Yeah,
hybrid
it's-
for then.
it's quite literally just City Hall, the libraries, and 3 Belden Avenue.
Mm.
So City Hall, doesn't it have like the symphony room over there where they have symphonies going on?
I don't think the symphony room is capable. I'd have to check. I know the community room is capable. And I know we have like 8 conference rooms that are capable, but I don't know if the actual symphony room, like the auditorium, is set up for that or not.
Well, that
Well,
would be
how
good.
long is it gonna take us to get the student canvases up in the community room, and let's have an event there? And then we'll be in one of the spaces, we can show it off and then also promote that artwork.
Yeah, I think people are just calling out for in-person meetings. I think that's the general consensus that I'm getting. People
But
are
I'm
looking-
saying we could also have the meeting that same night in person.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah,
Sabrina,
like I said, we still have some work to do on that front though, but we can definitely target that as something we can do, but we're still working out logistics on that, but I think that's a great idea.
I mean, myself, speaking for myself, I mean, and Elizabeth said the same thing to me, that she'd love to get back to in-person meetings. Or at least, we know we're always going to have a Zoom component for the sake of regulations, but I don't know. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I would love to be able to meet in person again.
Yeah, I like the convenience of if I'm running late or something's happening to get home and have it, but also I like being in person too. So I do like the convenience of the Zoom.
I mean, when I first.
We
when I
can
first-
also do it like a quarterly in-person meeting. So like every 3-4 months, it's definitely in person, hybrid, and then, flip it over. We can talk about it, but
Yeah.
we should do that offline.
I agree. I will say this, meetings are not always that convenient and stuff like that, but it could be a lot worse. When I first joined the Arts Commission, the meetings were on Tuesday morning at 7:30 in the morning. We met 7:30 to 9 a.m. First Tuesday of every month, and that was hard. It's really hard to talk creatively. We have an art at 7:30 in the morning, I will say. All right, is there a motion for adjournment?
A motion to adjourn, Brian Casper.
I will second that motion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Really?
And then I'll vote to adjourn. Mark Allen and Brian,
Aye. Get out of here.
Bob Abriola,
Aye.
Melissa Matuska,
Aye.
Nori Gruden,
I.
Stephen Russ, you still with us?
I'm here. Hello. Yes, I.
All right. Okay, everybody, let's follow up offline.